We've been talking about the kickoff to the Atlantic hurricane season. Happened yesterday, and now we're in the thick of it. This is the time of year when the National Hurricane Center in Miami has the spotlight turned on them, too, and they're ready for it. On Friday, our hurricane specialist here at Fox Weather, Brian Norcross, he was at the NHC. He had a lengthy conversation with Dr. Michael Brennan, who's the director of the National Hurricane Center. And in that discussion, Dr. Brennan talked about the importance of life-saving messaging around tropical cyclones.
It's all about messaging risk and trying to convey that to people. And it is difficult because people need to remember that no matter where you've lived and how long you've lived there, you probably have not seen the worst thing that can happen in terms of flooding or wind or storm surge.
From Friday and into this morning, National Hurricane Center Director Michael Brennan. Dr. Michael Brennan joining us this morning. Dr. Brennan, always appreciate even a fraction of the time you're able to provide, especially as we head further into the season. As Stephen mentioned, June 1st, it's a big day. That's when the Atlantic hurricane season kicked off. However, without a named storm for the fourth year in a row, but for a season that runs through November, we've got a long way to go, right? Quiet now doesn't mean quiet later.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really important in these first couple of months of hurricane season. If you actually look at the activity we see, it's usually pretty quiet in June and July. The vast majority of the storms happen in those months of August, September, October. That's when we tend to get the most major hurricanes, the most impactful storms. But, you know, everybody has to be ready from now all the way through November.
I'm trying, Dr. Brennan, to think of questions that our Brian Norcross did not ask you. He asked you the best ones. I mean, your conversation about AI models, I'm going to be talking about that for the rest of the season. But there have been some updates that the NHC in the offseason will now be implementing this season. And not to ignore the fact that that forecast cone, which is well known, is also smaller. That speaks to the forecast accuracy. Yep. But looking at some of the updates, I think that U.S. rip current risk map is significant. This is going to be a part of the graphics package that the NHC now issues. Tell us a bit more. This is new for the NHC, right?
Yeah, I mean, the National Weather Service local offices have been putting out rip current forecasts for years along different sections of the coastline, but this is the first time that there'll be a sort of a national level view of that rip current risk on hurricanes.gov. So anytime we have an active tropical cyclone in the Atlantic or in the Pacific, you'll be able to see that U.S. rip current risk highlighted, because rip currents have been have killed more people in tropical storms and hurricanes than storm surge in the U.S. over the last 10 or 11 years. So we want to keep that messaging at front of mind for people who might be going to the beach on what's an otherwise nice day to be at the beach, but in dangerous ocean conditions.
And we know that the ocean can get angry, especially when those systems begin to churn off any respective coast. Mentioning that forecast cone, so when you guys do issue a forecast, it's a static cone that we're going to use for the 2025 season. It's a little smaller this year. That's because of I think we just got a shot of New York City. Sorry, Dr. Brennan, I think we lost you. There you are. The cone is a little smaller, and this speaks to the accuracy of the forecast from just last year. Do you have any reason as to why the forecast models performed well last year, it seems?
Yeah, if you look at last year's activity, a lot of it was in the deep tropics. We had a lot of really strong storms, and the track forecasts for those systems tend to be easier. You compare that to what happened back in 2023, when we sort of had the opposite. We had more storms at higher latitudes, not as strong, and we had some bigger track forecast errors. So they do vary from year to year based on the characteristics of the storm. Each storm presents its own challenges, but the cone is it's almost imperceptibly smaller this year as we add on the errors from 2024, drop off the errors from 2019. We update them every year, but it's a good reminder that the impacts, which what we're really trying to talk about, are well outside the cone almost all the time.
Yeah, from the coast and then further inland, as we learned, especially last year.
No doubt.
And, Dr.
Absolutely.
Brennan, we're getting into June now, so we now have both the Eastern Pacific as well as the Atlantic that are officially in hurricane season. In fact, we ordered a named storm out of the Eastern Pacific. Wondering, at least from your perspective, right, we rely so heavily on the National Hurricane Center for these forecasts. And as we get into the season, wondering how staffing changes, if at all, as you get into the season. I mean, full disclosure here at Fox Weather, it's all hands on deck. We are around. We are now locked into the season. Does anything change or anything that typically comes with the season, or maybe any changes out of last year as we get into the 2025 season?
No, I mean, the main message from here is we're ready. Our hurricane forecasters start shift work 24/7 coverage actually on May 15th with the start of the East Pacific season. That'll continue all the way through November. So we'll be here getting our products and forecasts and warnings out and coordinating just like we do every season.
And we appreciate when you do. Hey, and before we leave you, be remiss if we didn't ask.
We have to ask him.
We have to ask. We have to know.
Sure.
Okay, so looking at the forecast behind you is one that we've been sharing throughout the morning. Tropical development, unlikely over the next 7 days. So we've been watching some of these storms over Florida. But I guess the question has been what some of the models may be picking up. Some hints at, do we see something try to develop off the southeastern coast that could take on some tropical characteristics by the end of the week?
Yeah, we'll be looking at that. We already have been looking at that over the last day or so. So I wouldn't be terribly surprised if we saw a low chance off the southeast coast pop up on the outlook sometime later today or tomorrow. That's a pretty typical location for formation as we get into June. This is where we tend to see storms form in June from the Gulf across Florida off the southeast and mid-Atlantic coast. So it's a great reminder that typically in June, those storms do tend to form pretty close to home. People need to be ready and keep an eye out for any formation that we might see.
It's one of those things where you can still get fronts that move through the southeast U.S., so you get some better air, but there's always a risk there. Then when you get into the depths of summer, it's like, all right, so long boundaries. We'll see you in the fall, and you wait for them. Well, we appreciate your time. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Know it's going to be an above-average season. At least that's what the outlook says. Dr. Michael Brennan, the director of the National Hurricane Center. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
All right. And it is all part, the discussion that we have with Dr. Brennan, kicking off the week that we have ahead. Hurricane HQ week here on Fox Weather. Make sure you can watch all week. If you want to watch this evening, you can tune into our Hurricane H Q&A. It's an hour long, starts at 9 p.m. We had mentioned Brian Norcross. He's going to be taking your questions live. It's actually quite simple to do. All you'll have to do is scan that QR code and you can ask questions. And I hear that you'll be able to do this during the show too. Rumor has it. Yeah. So real time. So we'll see. It's 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, and that's going to cap off the first day of the Hurricane HQ week here on Fox Weather.
To